cartel base was erased without a single boot crossing the border. In an astonishing Navy operation, the United States obliterated a big cartel base in seconds. The mission was completed with such precision that it felt like a classified counter-terror operation rather than a drug enforcement operation, and that was the point. America is no longer just playing around, fighting cartels. They are hunting them down with the same tools that were once reserved for terrorist targets. So how did this operation work? And is this the initiation of a new kind of war that is silent, across borders, and with no avenue for escape? Join us as we break down what's happening behind the headlines, which may change global crime forever. The deadliest wars aren't always fought with missiles and tanks. For years, drug cartels have been deploying a fleet of crewed submarines to transport narcotics. They call them the narcotic submarines, or narco subs, and send them to sea from their jungle workshops in Colombia and Peru. The dimension of a narco sub can be between 30 and 50 feet and is still shockingly primitive with no GPS, radio, or weapons, but at the same time is very functional in its simplicity. Its only mission is to deliver millions of dollars in drug payloads through the open ocean and then disappear into the blue sea and never return. These improvised submarines are built for under $1 million and transport cocaine or heroin worth about $30 million. No one knows if the crew members are involved. However, if law enforcement discovers these vessels, the operators would flip a switch to sink the vessel, destroying all evidence and cutting off the mission. Naval forces regularly participate in a game of high-stakes underwater hide-and-seek, searching the seas for the almost non-existent footprints of narco subs lurking just below the surface. But last May, that game took a giant shift. Law enforcement intercepted and seized 4 ghost vessels in just 21 days. One submarine was stopped just before it could enter international waters while under law enforcement detection and was seized by the United States. Another was caught skimming just 7 feet below the surface, so low it fell below radar detection, a near-perfect blind spot. The confrontation became a clash between technological superiority and the cartel's enormous smuggling audacity. Due to the severity of the situation, the United States Navy employed strategic precision rather than overwhelming force. Convection cutters like the Cutter James and elite helicopters with the squadron teams are usually stationed offshore in total darkness, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. They are very efficient in carrying out naval missions because they recognize that if any submarine successfully evades capture, millions of dollars in narcotics would be flooding into American streets. The Navy understands it cannot carry out the mission alone, so it partners with neighboring countries. The Orion campaign is an unprecedented coalition of 62 countries sharing real-time, satellite, drone intelligence, surveillance, and coordinated information. Each partner maximally leverages its capabilities. In Colombia, for instance, Special Operations Forces will conduct operations in the jungle in search of clandestine submarine building operations. Ecuador can track foreign distributions of lithium batteries, key submarine components that move through the river ecosystem. In the Atlantic, the Netherlands supports naval teams with sophisticated underwater drones that can systematically scan the seafloor and identify uniquely shaped formations that could indicate a submarine den. This collaboration neutralized more than 130 high-value targets between November 24 and February 25. That's more than 60 narco submarines expected to carry an estimated street value of $2.5 billion worth of drugs. Notably, the unwillingness of the coalition forces to take physical possession of drugs represents a significant psychological victory. The Orion campaign does not chase after boats. It tracks patterns, movements, and errant behaviors that even the most meticulous traffickers struggle to hide. Since its inception, and with the capture of the 60th narco submarine, one thing is obvious. In this type of war, victory does not belong to whoever moves first, but to whoever knows how to wait. The waiting comes to fruition with one of the operation's quiet powerhouses, United States Coast Guard Cutter James. A little over 390 feet in length, this boat does not wield huge missiles, nor does it have a radar system. Instead, its weapon is more difficult to counter: patience, discipline, and focus. Between 2024 and 2025, The USS Cutter James spent a little more than 100 days at sea and performed more than 20 precision operations without launching a single missile. But the effect of those operations devastated the cartel's supply lines. Then on February 14th, the crew noticed something odd, a thin water trail that didn't fit any shipping patterns. The vessel wasn't broadcasting identification signals or taking any reputable course. Instead of swooping in, the James followed the target from a distance and let it drift east toward suspected delivery zones. At the right time, the team deployed a small drone to overwrite its source, and the picture became clear. It was a narco sub painted for camouflage, with only the tip of its tail appearing above water. In just minutes, a tactical helicopter flew off the back of the USS Cutter James. It did not pursue the crew or attempt to sink the vessel. It fired non-lethal rounds at the engine of the submarine, disabling it and forcing it to surface. There was not enough time for the smugglers to escape or destroy what was on the boat, an estimated cargo of nearly 140 million United States dollars. This is just one operation of what the Cutter James is capable of. Sometimes the boat remains covert, dropping underwater sonar nets to trap unsuspecting submarines. Sometimes it trails a commercial vessel that appears harmless until drug containers are discovered. And often the USS Cutter James does not make the arrest in person. It does so quietly by sending out coordinates to partner nations such as Ecuador or Costa Rica and letting them intercept and take action. On April 2025, a spokesperson from the United States Department of Homeland Security revealed something important. They said the Cutter James isn't judged by how many missions it completes, but by how many drug runs it stops before they reach the mainland. By their estimate, the James has blocked nearly $500 million worth of illegal shipments without firing a shot. To the cartels, this ship is not a regular patrol boat. It's a ghost. They never know where it is or when it might strike. Every time a smuggling route is shut down, every time a sub is captured intact, another piece of $1 billion drug empire is broken apart. And that's why nothing scares the enemy more than the ship they never see coming. A nation's navy has always represented its standing in the world. Only a few empires owned the waters during the Age of Exploration, as the British Empire did for centuries. Yet this completely changed after the Second World War, and the United States emerged with the most significant maritime force in the world. Today, the Navy represents more than warships and missiles. It reflects America's core values: freedom, independence, and resilience. Even in the 18th century, as a new nation finding its place, the United States understood that controlling the seas meant protecting its future. One of the most evident signs of that strength today is the unmatched fleet of American aircraft carriers, often called floating cities. The United States Navy has 11 of the world's largest and most advanced aircraft carriers, more than its neighboring countries combined, and can project its power globally. American naval dominance began in 1922 with the launch of the USS Langley, the Navy's first aircraft carrier. The fleet has evolved through decades of innovation and advances in engineering. The fleet's backbone is the Nimitz and Gerald R. Ford classes. The Nimitz class was introduced in the 1970s when it became synonymous with American might and global security. As these ships are at the end of their life cycle, the Gerald R. Ford class will not only act as their replacement, but will redefine an aircraft carrier's capabilities. To put that into perspective, imagine a vast, floating city that travels the globe while carrying dozens of fighter jets, helicopters, and thousands of personnel, all ready to respond to a crisis anywhere in the world at a moment's notice. That is an American aircraft carrier. Most countries may possess one or two smaller carriers to conduct limited operations. If there's trouble on the other side of the planet, the U.S. does not need to wait for permission to use someone else's land. It simply dispatches a carrier. The Gerald R. Ford measures more than 1,000 feet in length and weighs about 100,000 tons, making it the largest aircraft carrier ever made by the United States. Its redesigned flight deck allows for a 25% increase in takeoffs and aircraft landings daily compared to the Nimitz class, with the added ability to take advantage of a smaller island control tower, which was reduced by 20%. The Gerald R. Ford maximizes usable deck space for daily operations. The carrier has an improved dual-band radar system combining SPY-3 and SPY-4 technology. This powerful radar system can track more than 200 targets simultaneously, including maritime fighter jets, weapons-equipped cruise missiles, and even hypersonic threats, with complete capability in poor weather. With these many advances, the Ford is not only an air-launching platform for operation, but a floating command and control center for a modern and demanding battlefield. The Gerald R. Ford is meant for detection, defense, speed, and endurance. It has over 10 advanced weapon elevators that lift almost 24,000 pounds of ammunition at 150 feet per minute. It would have taken hours to get the same result, but now it can be accomplished in 10 minutes. The integrated power system generates 600 megawatts of power, 3 times greater than a Nimitz class. Enough electrical capacity for its weapon systems, both current and future capability. The smart distribution can keep things operational after damage to critical systems. Most importantly, the Gerald R. Ford can provide continuous operations for up to 25 years, provided the nuclear refuel is replaced, allowing for fewer supply missions and operational costs and more endurance during long deployments. To the United States Navy, these carriers are more than warships. They are a floating laboratory to test and improve future technologies. Components such as electric armor to deflect incoming projectiles, weapons, and even high-energy combat lasers have been developed. They are now included as actual systems on board the Gerald R. Ford-class carriers and have been tested positively. However, besides the advancements on deck, the Navy has more power, which is evident below the sea. A nuclear propulsion system propels the Gerald R. Ford. It has 3 massive propellers, each about 20 feet wide and the size of a small swimming pool. These propellers allow the ship to travel over 30 knots faster than most cargo ships on the ocean. That propulsion system allows the Ford to have airspeed capabilities to carry dozens of fighter jets with tons of weapons and plenty of fuel to strike for an entire week, while reaching anywhere in the world in about 5 to 7 days. In simple terms, the Gerald R. Ford is an operationally complete mobile airport. It can circle half the world in under a week and begin air operations the moment it arrives. With more than 3 million gallons of fuel on board, it does not need to be refueled, nor does it need to consider the availability of bases near the area of operations. That capability adds a level of risk, practically and psychologically, to any adversary. Its presence can boost morale and engagement on a battlefield, helping the United States allies gain a practical advantage in warfare. The United States Navy has over 50 multi-purpose attack submarines, 14 strategic missile submarines, and 4 guided missile submarines. Each type of submarine has a particular function that adds to security at sea. Attack submarines of the Los Angeles, Seawolf, and Virginia classes are like silent assassins and underwater snipers because of their unique ability to not be seen. They travel fast and are heavily armed. They are armed with Mark 48 torpedoes and Tomahawk cruise missiles that can target ships and land targets. The latest versions of Virginia-class submarines, especially the block upgrades, Block 3 and Block 4, can carry approximately 40 Tomahawk missiles, making every Virginia-class submarine a mobile center of power, able to deal with a devastating strike. To understand how powerful that is, think of a Virginia-class submarine like a city bus, but instead of passengers, it's packed with long-range Tomahawk missiles, each capable of hitting a target with extreme accuracy from hundreds of miles away. Now imagine that bus moving silently beneath the ocean, completely undetectable, and ready to launch a devastating strike without warning. With around 40 of these missiles on board, a single Virginia-class submarine has enough firepower to hit multiple enemy bases, airfields, or ships, all from deep underwater and without ever being seen. Then there is the Ohio class, the bedrock of America's nuclear deterrence. The intimidating vessels are over 560 feet long and weigh up to 20,000 tons. Originally designed to carry 24 nuclear Trident missiles, the Ohio class now only carries 20 missiles due to international agreements. However, the Ohio class still contains nearly half of the country's active strategic nuclear warheads. To put this into perspective, imagine a quiet, invisible train deep underwater, with each car having a weapon with enough destructive power to wipe an entire city off the face of the earth. Adversaries wouldn't sense it was coming. This is the threat of the Ohio class. 4 of the 18 submarines were modified to carry guided missiles instead of nuclear weapons, and therefore can strike with great precision and without detection, ideal for smaller, swift-moving threats, without initiating a larger conflict. From the year 2000 to the year 2007, the United States Navy significantly transformed its submarine fleet. The Navy converted 4 Ohio-class submarines, built only as nuclear deterrent forces, to guided missile submarines. Each conversion cost about $1 billion, but brought substantive capability. These vessels can now employ up to 66 Navy SEALs and specialized underwater craft like the SEAL delivery vehicle. The enhancements effectively transformed the Ohio class from a single-role nuclear platform to a multi-mission weapon that can strike precision targets and hyper-enable deep-sea covert operations anywhere on the globe. Each Ohio-class submarine can carry up to 20 Trident 2D5 ballistic missiles. While these missiles do not have designated targets when the submarines are launched, they can receive real-time mission updates at sea. This capability is made possible through secure ultra-low frequency communications provided by the United States Strategic Command in Nebraska. In addition to nuclear capability, the Ohio-class submarines have 22 vertical launch tubes that can launch up to 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles. Prime example of the capabilities of the Ohio-class submarine was shown in 2011 with Operation Odyssey Dawn. As part of a joint effort with British and French forces, the USS Florida, SSGN 728, launched 93 Tomahawk missiles to take out Libya's air defenses under Muammar Gaddafi. The overall operation created a successful no-fly zone and significantly diminished the regime's ability to respond. The mission clearly showed these converted submarines are not only nuclear deterrents, but also tactical assets that could influence the course of a conflict before it ever turned into a full war. The United States Navy is preparing for a future of attack submarines that could be called SSNX-class submarines. The SSNX class will replace the Underwater Virginia and Seawolf classes by the year 2040. The SSNX program aims to boost stealth, dramatically improve underwater sensors, and increase weapons capabilities. The SSNX submarines would perform various missions with flexible utility, including intelligence collection, special operations, and anti-submarine warfare, all of which would support more missions at a lower cost for the Navy. Each SNX submarine will likely cost $5.6 billion to $7.2 billion, with a price tag vastly more than a Gerald R. Ford-class aircraft carrier at approximately $13 billion. The new SSNX-class submarines mark a considerable step forward in the United States Navy's effort to maintain its edge against growing global threats, particularly the advanced Russian and Chinese undersea threats represented by the Yassin class and Type 095 submarines. Each contends with some combination of speed, silence, and lethality, all valued attributes of an adversarial submarine. However, the SSNX submarines are wired to outperform those challenges. Some of the critical upgrades include a water jet propulsion system that eliminates traditional propellers. The system is quieter while still able to achieve speeds over 35 knots. With AI engaged with the sonar and weapon systems, the SSNX will be able to process, react, and engage with highly accurate lethality, all in the high-pressure environment of undersea combat. What sets the United States Navy apart from any other Navy? It boils down to one thing: consistently investing in new technology and weapon systems. Rather than relying on size alone, the Navy has invested in innovation. From undersea surveillance to missile accuracy, almost every facet of its operations has been modernized to address today's threats. The Navy is designed to be fast and accurate. It is capable of a global reach, whether hunting a sneaky submarine or conducting a precision airstrike hundreds of miles away. Thanks for watching. While you are still here, click on the link on your screen to check out another of our videos. See you there.